everyone. Welcome to this edition of Talk of the Town. I'm James Milan. I am happy today to be with two folks who are very involved with NEAT. NEAT, if you haven't heard of it yet, you should have. It is Neighbors Eating All Together, and it is an organization that basically provides a meal up to 10 times a year, as I understand it, for the community. And it's just that simple. But of course, the actual execution of all that is hardly simple. So I want to first welcome Julie Lucy, who handles a lot of the administration for NEAT, and Ivan Bash, who is the man in the kitchen, or one of the folks in the kitchen, which of course is an essential component to this community meal. We just want to find out how long NEAT's been around, what kinds of challenges have already been met and surpassed, et cetera, what's still in front of you, et cetera. But first of all, thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Have loved the idea of what you're doing. Volunteered myself years ago for one of the meals. It was very, very good experience. I'm sure that most of your, or all of your volunteers can say the same thing. Let me start by asking you though, Julie, just to take us back to, to the very beginning of this enterprise. And I understand that that looked a lot different from what things look like now, but just tell us where everything began.
It did. So I wasn't there when it very began because I was working elsewhere doing a summer feeding program at Thompson. But my neighbor, Laura Mannion, who lived down the street, is the one that started it. It was in the basement or the church hall at St. John's Church on Pleasant Avenue, Pleasant Street, right? I got involved around, I think, late 2018, 2019. And by that time, it was going, it was happening, it was at St. John's, it was happening once a month. They were getting somewhere between 35 and 50 people. They would order pizza or just really sort of low-key food. I got involved. I knew that they were involved with FoodLink. They were using FoodLink for flours and for desserts and for bread and butter and all sorts of extra stuff. My best friend Jody runs Something Savory Catering and Events, and I said, let's use the FoodLink food and let's have Johnny cook for these people and show them what real food tastes like. And so that was how they started to get involved, and that worked out really well. They made chilies and soups and big salads and all with the FoodLink food. And that's where we were when the pandemic hit. We had just gotten a 501c3. One of our board members, our previous board members, was working at BC and in legal studies, and so we sort of lucked out that our nonprofit status became a project for the legal studies students at BC, and that we were really lucky about that. And then things shut down.
Right. Let me just bring Ivan in for a sec and say, yeah, I noticed Julie turning a couple of times, looking in your direction as she mentioned FoodLink, and I know that you are involved in all kinds of food enterprises in and around Arlington. So just kind of tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got involved with this particular organization, but just also, the links to FoodLink and other places.
So I've been involved with food rescue for a long time, 15, 20 years, starting with the Lexington Food Pantry and picking up the Panera at the end of the night so that they could give it out the next morning. And then I found FoodLink. From the very beginning, it was called something different back then and didn't have staff or a place or a car, but it was just people kind of doing it out of the trunks of their cars. But I was involved from the beginning, and then I was on the original board of directors when it became a 501c3. And did that for 7 years. And as part of FoodLink, I really was excited to think, how can the food that we're rescuing from Whole Foods and Panera and Trader Joe's and all the places that's going out to places like food pantries and such, but how could it do even more? And I got involved with an organization called Let's Eat Together, which became a weekly dinner program in Lexington out of the same location as the Lexington Food Pantry. And we made sure that FoodLink was contributing the ingredients for the chefs to make the dinners. So that's kind of the origin of my linking to a food dinner. And then I heard about this one that was being formed. Didn't have a name yet. Now it's called NEAT. And it seemed to be a bunch of actually faith organizations that came together to create it, but they were explicitly non-denominational. It's not about religion. They were just starting in the St. John's space, and they had other churches providing some of the seed money to help us get going. But I joined kind of under the, it was important to me that it be for everybody, okay? And so I became the person who got the things that Julie mentioned into those early meals, and we still count on FoodLink to provide the bread and the butter and the desserts and the drinks and flowers and now the fixins for making this fabulous salad that we have every time, and whatever else they can provide that we need. And without them, NEAT wouldn't exist. I mean, it's not an overstatement to say that. So I'm very excited to see how organizations can help each other. I'm also now involved with the Boston Area Gleaners, which is really linked into FoodLink and all of the pantries in the area as well. So I'm on that board of directors now as well.
Yeah, I love hearing about and exploring these confluences of different organizations who are not only doing great work in and of themselves, but clearly establishing networks where you, as often can happen, the sum is greater than than the parts, because really by working together you are able, because everybody's worried about money for sure, I would think, and you guys will talk about that. I would imagine that's an issue. It always is, but clearly just the savings by working together, as well as just the fact that you can amplify the good that you do, working in conjunction with others, and love to just be able to explore, like I said, that with folks who are very much involved in that. I don't want to lose track over the fact that you mentioned that there were things that happened and lessons learned, et cetera, as you went into and came out of the pandemic. So let's go back to that.
Sure. So as the pandemic hit, it became clear that we weren't going to be able to have live meals anymore. Weren't going to be able to invite people to come and eat, but we wanted to continue. So we worked with the Council on Aging that first Thanksgiving. Apparently the Council on Aging does a distributed meal to all the seniors in town every year anyway, but we got involved. We worked with FoodLink, we worked with High Rock Church, we got some funding from Arlington Eats, and we used Something Savory, who did all the cooking for us, and they made an absolutely magnificent Thanksgiving meal. We have pictures of it. It's incredible, and it got distributed to all of the seniors throughout town, which was amazing and felt really great to us that we were continuing to be able to pursue our mission, even though we were all locked down. After that, we started using food from FoodLink and making soup. So Johnny and Jody would make soup with the FoodLink stuff, and then we used the FoodLink distribution network to get it out to food pantries. I would say there were 25 towns at the time that we were working with, but it was great, and it was just this amazing collaboration with so many different organizations in town to keep getting the food out there.
Yeah, so these are pints and quarts of soup that were distributed to families. And it just kept us working together, which was important for us. And hopefully we'll talk more about how the people in NEAT get something from the deal as well. But we, at that point, there wasn't a lot of being face to face with people, but we were in the kitchens and with masks on.
I mean, we got this nonprofit status, and we were really excited about it. Like, we're real now. This is for real. We can go forward, and then we got shut down, and we just really wanted to keep going.
It's
we
frustrating,
really wanted to.
but we channeled our frustration. I can't remember exactly how we came back to live meals, but I know we were chomping at the bit. So Julie, remind us, because you have a good memory.
Yeah,
we were arguing. Can we do it yet? Can we do it yet?
Can we do it yet? Can we do it yet? In March of 2023, we decided that we would go back to live meals.
Wow, that's 3 solid years, that you held off. So
right, and it really wasn't working. We would get 8 people, we would get 10 people. We used the community center. We used, I don't even remember where else we were, but it was getting really frustrating. And the board the board started to say, let's just be done. You know, we can't continue to do this. We can't continue to, you know, get food, make food, have food for all these people and have no one show up. It's kind of demoralizing. And
I think I might have said, if there's more guests, if there's more volunteers than guests, why are we doing this, right?
yes,
Right.
yes.
Which makes a lot of sense, and I don't want to interrupt
No, that's
too
fine.
much, but I do want to ask, like, how, you know, what accounted for that? Do you know? Do you have a sense as you look back on it?
No.
Why that was? Did it simply were people not aware, or were people actually aware but choosing not to
We hadn't
avail
hit
themselves?
critical mass like before the pandemic. It's not like we had floods of people coming in, so we didn't actually have a huge mailing list. We didn't know how
Right.
to reach people. It's not as easy as it used to be. You can't just put something in the Arlington Advocate anymore because there's hardly
no
an Arlington.
Arlington Advocate,
Right. So we would
Right.
debate about how are we going to let people know about this, and that's one of the problems. Is, you know, you can put a sandwich board out front, but only the people walking by are going to see it,
Right.
which a couple have, but you know, it's still not
yeah,
enough.
we have. A couple have, for sure. So Jody and I told you about the lunch program that we used to run at Thompson. And
Well, you mentioned it, yeah.
I mentioned it. And so we said, let's have a barbecue at Thompson.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
And they said, well, what if nobody comes? What if nobody comes? And we said,
Was this in like summer of 23?
this was summer of 2023,
Okay.
August, I
August,
think,
yep.
2023. And we said, they'll come. And they said, but what if they don't? How many people do you think are going to come? And I said, well, you know, I think we'll get 200. And they said,
Which was, of course, more than
Ludi-
double what we'd ever had before.
ludicrous,
Right.
ludicrous. That's
A lot of bravado there.
Yeah.
Absolutely not
Would
going to
take that.
happen.
Did this come to you in a dream, or like how
No.
did you
As
knew
it
suddenly
from
insert?
Arlington
Well,
Eats.
we knew it. So we knew it because we ran a lunch program next to Thompson, and we did lunches every day, and we did meals all the time, and we knew that
Okay.
if you started grilling hamburgers outside Thompson right next to public housing and told them it was free, they were going to come. Of course they were going to come.
All right, sounds
you
pretty
know, we
simple
had-
That's
now.
what we did.
We had a lot of experience with this with Thompson. Both of our kids have gone to Thompson. We knew a lot about it. Anyway, we got 500 people at that barbecue.
We were blown away.
We were.
And did you have food for 500?
So that's a
Well.
really interesting thing too. It's a little bit like magic. Somehow we always manage to have enough food, even though nobody RSVPs. And I did have to go out and buy an entire
Rolls.
grocery cart full of hot dog rolls.
That's right.
Because we had a lot of extra hot dogs.
But because of FoodLink, we
Because of
had
FoodLink.
you know, tons of food that we had been saving up. That was, you know, frozen burgers and hot dogs, and you can make some things like, you know, chips and salads and things to kind of stretch out. And we always get twice as many desserts as you think we'll ever need. Though in this case it was exactly the right amount, I think.
It's a lot of dessert.
So we kind of think that's one of our you know, magical potions, is
Yeah.
the ability to make the food scale to the number of people who come.
Somehow it
Yeah,
works.
modern day fishes and loaves for
Somehow it
you know.
Yep.
just-
And I think that kicked us off.
Yeah.
Once that happened, we got a lot of attention, and it started to kick us off.
We never again spoke of shutting down. Let's put it that way,
No.
because we realized that we're for real, and you know,
Yep.
so that was the turning point.
Did we
We
start
did.
taking names
We
then?
did. That was
we
our
did.
first one.
We
Yeah.
hadn't taken names before.
We
It
realized
was-
that having a mailing list,
makes a big
we're very
difference.
careful. We don't ask many questions of our guests. We don't need to know their demographics. We don't need to know where they're, you know. But we did need an email address so that we could let them know when the next meal is.
Exactly.
Because we
Right.
were also not having it, you know, reliably on the third Saturday of every month.
Right.
So how would people know when it's going to be and where it's going to be?
And we were all over the
so
place.
it was kind of a chicken and egg problem, right?
Yep.
But now, you know, people find the chickens and the eggs because we let them know ahead of time.
Which is great, and you're getting more and more effective at that, I know.
We are.
But you were saying that was really where things kind of took off from there.
They did.
I wanna, if you don't mind, fast forward because we're don't have as much time left as we'd like. I want to fast forward to where things are these days, and by that I mean, what I noticed, we covered for our news program the meal that you did at the Arlington High School in January, and I know you just were filming this in early February, and you just finished a meal, very successful, right across the street from ACMi at the Park Avenue Church here. But one thing that I had noticed in covering the Arlington event was that you had dual purposes that you stated when we were speaking to you specifically, Julie.
Sure.
One of them, of course, addressing food insecurity, which has been, part of the genesis of this
Yes.
whole thing, of course, and very consistent. But the other, I would like you to talk about.
Sure. So as we became more serious, as we started thinking about building a mission and having a 501c3, we talked about, yes, the food insecurity issue, but also social isolation and the epidemic of loneliness, and trying to help to sort of have a dual mission of additionally helping to bring out people who might not have a place to eat dinner, might not have someone to eat dinner with, might be all alone, might be having a hard time getting out of the house. And so those are sort of the two pillars of our mission, but we feel very strongly about community and just doing all of this under the umbrella of community, so that we're not pointing to the hungry, we're not pointing to the lonely, we're just saying, come, just come and eat with us. And it takes care of itself.
Mm-hmm. Eat with us and each other.
And each other, exactly.
So the seating in these meals is congregant dining. So there's long tables, 8 or 10 per table, and people sit with people they don't know. And I heard some stories from the last meal that people came in the middle and sat with people they hadn't ever met before, but they were the ones that had to be kicked out at the end because they were still talking with each other.
Yep.
And we hear that now at every meal, is that people are making friends and they're making plans to come to subsequent meals and see their friends.
I had at least 2 people at the last meal say that they met their neighbors. Their neighbor that they had never met before was at their table, and they met their neighbors, which is, I mean, that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
Neighbors eating all together.
I do remember, in the introduction to the news piece that we did, kind of mentioning that what you were providing was food for the palate and for the spirit.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that's really what it feels like is a conscious and intentional part of what it is that you're doing. And I do think that I'd love both of you just to talk briefly about the care that you give to curating and creating the space that you do. Because one thing that I really like about it as well is the fact that while you may be addressing food insecurity, while there may be people at those meals who are eating their only hot meal of that day or something like it, what you are conferring to the people who gather there is also dignity. It's clearly you're not treating your guests like charity cases. Right. And I think that is a wonderful value unto itself, but I would love to hear from you guys about that.
You go first.
Well, we're serving them an amazing meal, okay? So it's not, a soup kitchen. It's not buffet. We're serving it to them. It's restaurant style. It's restaurant quality from the very beginning to the end. We're getting this rescued items from FoodLink, but it's high quality stuff. And so you're getting, breads from, bakeries, okay? Butternut gave us a ton of stuff for this last meal that was both bread and dessert. You're getting entrees that we're making sure they're high quality. If we're buying them, and we are normally buying them now, we're making sure there's something that we'd want to eat, vegetarian choices. People have different dietary needs, and we're respecting that. There's a choice of drinks. The drink choices this past meal were astonishing. We had non-alcoholic wines along with iced teas, and it was great. And dessert, it looks like a dessert bar you'd see on a cruise ship. And then you've got the coffee, tea station. It's a great meal. And they're being served by multiple servers that are treating them like the guests that they are. Now, we should also point out the volunteers themselves are getting quite a bit of benefit because to serve somebody is a really gratifying thing too. So there's a lot of joy that's going back and forth between the people that are working supposedly, because they're volunteers, and the people that are being served. So it's really, I find that it's just the buzz in the room is really very positive.
Mm-hmm.
And we do encourage the volunteers to sit down and eat themselves. And when we had more volunteers than people, we would say, like, this is as much a part of your job as serving people food. We want you to sit down and eat with people. We want you to make them feel welcome. We want you to get to know them. I see us building community. I see it really happening, that it's becoming real, that people really want to be there. They're waiting outside in line. They're coming with their neighbors. They're meeting other people. It feels real. It feels real.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say from kind of behind the scenes, that the scaffolding and the processes and the people of the board and the volunteers that are regulars, that we're getting better with each of the meals. And the board itself is becoming a multi-celled organism where we're having specialization. We're doing much better with our inventory of things. And just, it feels like we're honing the processes, which I love. I'm a process person, program manager from way back. And that makes me feel like we can do this for forever, okay? And we've also, in the past couple of years, decided that the 3 sites that we're at seem to work really well for us, so that we have Thompson in East Arlington, the high school in the center, and Park Ave Congregational here in the Heights, where we're at right now. And we're rotating amongst them, so we feel like we can serve the whole community of Arlington. And that means everybody, but especially down here near Drake Village, or on the other side in Monotony, and in the center, of course, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels, and things will change. Maybe one of those will be dropped. Maybe we'll find another site, but these 3 seem like they're working well for us. So it feels to me like we have a lot to build on, and the momentum of the guests have really fueled our fire to plan a calendar. Like we didn't have a year ago, we didn't have a calendar. Now we have a calendar. Now we have kind of a budget that we're trying to stick to, and we're trying to have better social media to let people know. We have a Facebook page that we would encourage everybody to go to learn more about us, which is Neat Neighbors Eating All Together. And we put up pictures from the meals, and it's really a good way to know what's coming up as well.
Yeah, I mean, what I hear you saying, Ivan, is exactly what Julie said as well, which is that it's real. This is real now, and you're thinking about, okay, you're feeling the assurance of knowing that this is solid, and you're also thinking about, okay, how are we going to need to continue to evolve as you go forward?
It can be a little scary, right?
Yes, it's a little
Why
scary.
is it a little scary,
I would
Julie?
imagine.
Why is it a little scary? I mean, because we don't have any money.
So let's finish there.
Sure.
Talk about that a little bit.
So we have had some help. People inevitably ask when they come to the meal, how do you pay for this? And magic is probably not the right answer. Really sure how we pay for it. One of our board members is from Covenant Church, the pastor at Covenant Church, Zach, and Covenant Church has given us donations. We had some donations from Arlington Eats for a little while we were getting ourselves up and running. Arlington Human Rights Committee has given us some donations. We have a generous local donor who has given us a fair amount of money. That helps us quite a lot. We can't promise that, I can't believe that will continue to happen. We've got to sort of get out on our own. We have about 4 mid-range donors who give pretty regular money, and that helps us. We've gotten, of course, FoodLink and Blue Ribbon Barbecue gave us 2 complete meals, 1 a year it seems like it's going to be from now on, which is pretty amazing. That's 150 meals that they just donated.
Wow.
So that's amazing.
Thank you, Blue Ribbon.
Thank you, Blue Ribbon. Wegmans has been helpful. They sent some volunteers for a while, and for the last barbecue that we did, and then they've given us some gift cards that have helped us to buy food. And Something Savory, of course, has done an enormous amount for us. But what Well, what I say is we need to learn how to fundraise. We don't really know how.
Hey,
Well,
we know that feeling here
We're
at
getting
ACMi.
small donations.
we-
At the meals, we put out we call it If You Can. I think this is Julie's brilliant idea that
is.
people can shove in a couple bucks. But the last time someone wrote out a nice check and threw that in as well. And then we also have, Donate Now page on our website. And we're starting to get more of these kind of mid-level donations. So, if everybody watching here gave us 25 or 50 bucks, we'd be all set. I mean,
Sure
we
would.
don't have a lot of expenses except it's all the meal and, the inventory of items needed to give the meal, including the utensils and the plates and everything, all compostable, by the way. We have a recycling mission and a composting mission. But we
And
just
the venue costs.
yeah,
We have
it's
venue
really the
costs.
venue cost, and we pay for custodial costs and,
Sure.
and of course the entree costs. So, frankly, if we had, I'm going to make up a number, and I've never done this, but it's like if we had $25,000 a year, we could do this pretty well. Maybe a little more would be nice to
little more than
to
that.
make it because it's growing.
a little more than that.
Right.
Right. So,
Well, we should mention that you had 220 people at Park Ave Congregational on Saturday night.
We did.
And not much less than that from what I saw at the high school, et
250.
cetera. 250, well, more
250
than
at the high school.
250 at the high school. Wow. So clearly, this you're doing things right, and there is a market, so to speak, for what it is that you're doing. So real important. Please do listen up, everybody. These are the ways in which you can contribute. So you mentioned donate button on your website, and then folks of course can come to the events and donate at that point.
Volunteers as well. I mean, we love to have a few more volunteers for every meal. We get a little nervous we won't have enough, but everybody who comes is kept nice and busy, so we could use a few more. And you can go to our website also to just drop a note and let us know you're interested. Or what's the email address, Julie?
eatwithneat@gmail.com.
Eat with Neat. I like
great?
it. Yes,
So
nice
cute.
and easy.
We'd love to hear from you. I love the town of Arlington, and I think this is giving me a new insight into what makes Arlington wonderful, is just to see the wide variety of people that are coming to our meals. We have families with young children, we have elderly, we have had refugees in for a number of meals when they were being housed at the local motel in East Arlington. I just love seeing all the different parts of Arlington come together to eat and also to serve.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
agree with that.
Okay. Well, I have been speaking with Julie Lucy and Ivan Bash from Neat, Neighbors Eating All Together. They've given us plenty to consider and plenty to celebrate in a lot of ways. Thank you so much for doing this. Keep it up. And hey, everybody out there, donate. I'm James Milan. This is Talk of the Town. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
ACMi productions are only made possible with your support. Visit patreon.com/ACMi to learn how you can help.